Welcome back, everyone. This is Arafel. I'm playing Magical Brain Korona the movie, and last time we found out that the Wheel of the Cosmos has called Noel and Leviathan to wipe humanity off the face of the planet. Korona is none too happy about that, so she is trying to stop Noel. We have fought Noel before, even in this game, but not since the prologue. And in the prologue, she was more playing around, and so was Korona, so this was not a very accurate assessment of what she's like in a serious battle. So we have new and more intense music, with a very nice harpsichord going on. This electric guitar, drums. I do love the music in this game. So let's just focus on doing as best we can here. As soon as Noel's its first attack round comes up, we will see something new already. And this is something she did in most or all battles in the previous game. Notice that these things are not coming through at the same speed, and I'm having a harder time blocking them than I should. A little out of practice, I guess. I shouldn't be making excuses, but the fact remains that I am having difficulty with that. But yeah, Noel has a chaotic speed effect on her attack rounds, where basically some of her attacks will start further away from the cursor, but also be sped up. So things will come in at different speeds, they'll arrive out of order. Sometimes you'll get things bunched up that wouldn't have been normally. It makes it a lot harder to block. And at this point, the difficulty is high enough, things are pretty fast, too. Even before being sped up. Plus, it's getting cooler for my fingers are a bit chilly. Again, I shouldn't be making excuses, but here we are. Anyway, special round for Korona. Yes, the special bar does charge at different speeds for different opponents. So I think it is charging faster now than it did for the first battle with her. I also think the first battle with her, as I recall, only lasted about 3 or 4 attack rounds. Yeah, you can see this is going to last much longer. Initiative. Alright, let's try to guard a little better this time. Or we get a special round. As in the first battle, Noel has 2 different specials. This one, I think, is Tempest? Yes. That was a quote from Paradise Lost, probably chosen because it has the words Tempestuous and Beelzebub. She's launching her attack. We'll have another quote here from Shakespeare's The Tempest, suggesting that life is fleeting. So here, as I may have mentioned, if you're at moderately high difficulties, Tempest goes from being the all things in the same direction, the way Korona Blaster is, to alternating between 2 different directions. It's not too bad, you just need to get the right rhythm to it, and it's fine. I messed up one, but it was mostly okay. I think she also has the Fierce ability on that, although I wasn't paying enough attention to notice. Should be there in my notes, but I'm not. I don't want to get distracted from the battle, so. Okay, yeah, it's not saying that there. Oh, I'm doing bad at this now. My practice run-through went a lot better, but that may have been I was a little more warmed up and also not trying to do commentary at the same time. Just skip that. We've seen it enough times by now. And this is going to be pretty long audio already. Let's stop the timing. And the music is looping already, and she's not even down to half health. Yeah, if you go back and compare this to the battle in the prologue, you'll see a huge difference. There's Tempest again. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Alright. I tried to go too fast there. Again, it's about being reasonable, not being fast. It's still possible to win, but it's not looking good at this point. I will probably have to retry. So at least we'll see what retrying is like. Ah, that electric guitar. We'll at least get one more attack round in. And she's going to get a round off before I can get a chip in. Okay, standard guard round. Block. 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 Down. Up. Okay, that went better. Which I also didn't have too much bunched together that time. The more things you have bunched together, the worse it is to block them. And Noel is down to half health, so Korona Desperado, or Korona Gunblazing, will not be enough to finish her off. But if I do get it off, that will help significantly. Red eyes, pointy ears, silver hair, demonic tail. Okay, this one's going alright. Alright, I think I'm getting back into the hang of it. Definitely before I go for the last few battles, I should do a bit of a warm-up. Alright, here we go. Korona Gunblazing, I'd say Noel's a bit under half health now, so this should take her down to probably something like 15%. Dramatic fiery effect, the swirling energy, the glowing sword. In matters of conscience, the law of majority has no place. Korona Gunblazing. You can, of course, also choose to not hit these because they are inner attacks, which makes them optional, but why? The whole point of charging your energy bar that much is to be able to unleash it. Noel is starting to wince. That is a good sign. Still haven't seen Sin of Gluttony. It's likely to come up before the battle is over. But we'll see. Yeah, as you've probably noticed, special attacks can be a huge game changer for either combatant, really, because enemy specials tend to be stronger and harder to guard, whereas Korona's specials are just devastating raw damage, especially Gunblazing, which scales up to the enemy's health. The more health they have, the more damage it does. Okay, did we get Sin of Gluttony this time? I think so. Pretty sure this is the right background for it. Okay, there's a quote from Genesis 9:3, and from verse 5. It skips over verse 4, which says, "But you must not eat meat that has its lifeblood still in it." General consensus of what that's about is, you're allowed to use animals for food, but that doesn't mean you can abuse them by, for instance, gluttony, much less cruelty. Anyway. We have some chaos going on here. It's kind of similar to some of Player's attacks, except it's coming from both sides. Depending on the exact difficulty level, there are different special effects that can be active there. You can have chips turning invisible, you can have chips fading from invisibility, you can have them switching orientation like those do. If you are paying close attention, it's generally not that bad, but it can be a lot to keep track of, rather. And for your lifeblood, I will demand an accounting. It's basically getting back to the concept, murder bad. There. The nice thing is if you have multiple chips on the thing at the same time, it doesn't really matter which order you hit them in, just as long as you do hit them all. So I could still win this, and if I do, I'll get the minimum score gain, which would be 1. It can go up to 10 for this battle, for a maximum up in the 80s, but a maximum total up in the 80s, but I think I'm going to be content with just winning. I'm not too concerned with getting a high score here. In a way, I'd almost prefer not to, because that will make the later battles not quite as hard. Okay, I need to hit her probably 1 or 2 more times. You can get to the point, especially when the enemies have more health, where their health appears to be empty, but they're not quite finished off. So what happens here will determine the outcome of the battle. Ooh, that was close. Battle will not end during specials, but it will end during normal attacks and guard rounds if health is completely depleted. Specials will always play out completely. But yeah, if I had been finished off by that, then the battle would have ended immediately. Since it didn't, I knew the battle was not quite over, so this is right down to the wire. But Korona Desperado will easily be enough to finish her off when there's no visible health showing. And bam. It's not much of a victory, but it is a victory. So Korona has beaten Noel, but as I hinted at during the battle itself, this isn't the end, it's not even the last battle. Again, thou points sword at me thus. I win! Burning up humanity, I'll never let you do it! As simplistic as ever. Didst think I came here with nary any preparation? I anticipated ere this thou wouldst try to stop me. Cromm, Nyal. It's over, Korona Sakura. Senpai. Nyahaha, nothing personal. Korona-chan, sorry. Super-chan, Yuka-chan. I care not if there is but one human left to place on the Ark. I am to slay all the others anyway. After that, further 1 or 2. Cut it out! Senpai, please don't worry about us. Stop Noel. Ah! Noisome lout. Thy look that knowest not thy place has never been to my liking. Perhaps I shall erase thee first. Stop it! I get the picture. I won't stop you. I'll behave myself, so don't... I see. Very well, then. Well, that wasn't very nice. But it does come from a long tradition of, well, mostly JRPGs, where you'll win a tough battle and then, oh, by the way, plot contrivance, you lose anyway. Oh, how terrible. Is that hideous form you? You who shone more beautifully than any, all for joining your fate to mine. Noel-chan! My voice echoed in the room as I woke. There's no answer. Huh, this is my room? The color's somehow weird, but the design of this room and the feel of the bed are familiar. Good morning, Korona-chan. Huh? Yuka-chan? I'm amazed you can sleep so soundly in this emergency situation. Your nerves of steel are enviable. Huh? Subaru-chan? You too? Was I dreaming? I'm afraid it's no dream. Look, the comet is still blotting out the sun. The situation has been like this for who can say how many hours now. Neither sun nor comet are moving, as though time itself has stopped.
Oh, the weird color in this room is because of the eclipse. But what's it mean that the sun's not moving? What about Noel-chan?
You're more worried about the demon lord than the ones who were captives?
No, well...
We should forgive her. Korona-chan, you've been unconscious, so you couldn't know. Yoshiyume-san has been at your side this whole time. Amada-go-senpai, you've been here the whole time yourself.
I get it. You were worried about me. Thanks.
Don't mention it. You seem to be hurt the worst in any case. We may have been captured, but it was just being ambushed and pinned down. So, are you physically alright?
Yeah, I'm fine. I heard some weird voice, though.
Weird voice?
It seemed bitter about something. Angry, sad, something like that. I heard another one a lot like it not all that long ago.
It must have been a dream.
Wow, Raim-san, you're here? Don't speak up from overhead.
Do excuse me. I am on guard duty such as it is, and so have invited myself to join you.
Guard duty?
Yes, Kuro-sama. You have all been taken to custody for the present.
It's kind of lacking in tension as far as being in custody goes. What's the situation like now?
Noel-sama, Leviathan-sama, and Cromm-sama are preparing to obliterate mankind. Yal-sama and I are on guard duty. And the group of you are...
Yeah, we're being held captive. Preparing to obliterate mankind? What exactly are they doing?
Take a look.
Huh? Raim-san handed me a long, thin tube. There's a lens stuck in each end. It's a telescope?
Please look over that way. Oh, and do be careful not to look at the sun. Eclipse or not, viewing it through a lens would be dangerous.
Slanting her right hand 45 degrees like a tour guide, Raim-san has me look out the window. I point the telescope where directed and peer through.
And she sees that. Still playing with the focus. Shifting around. Yes, that.
What's that? Was it there before?
That is the Absolute Tower made of the Demon Realm's congealed energy. It appears to have been completed while you were at rest, Korona-sama.
Yuka-chan, is that?
Why the Demon Realm's yin energy has been thinning? Without a doubt. Incredible power is gathered there. It really does seem like enough to swallow the whole world.
We've got to stop them!
Hey, do you even get what your position is here? Don't forget your captives!
Oh, Nyal-san.
Besides, 2 demon lords plus Cromm would be bad enough news any day, but now they're basking in that massive amount of magical energy. Just imagining what they're like now nearly makes me piss myself, yeah? Even you haven't got a chance of winning this time.
It's not whether we can win or not. We've just got to stop them. Hold it, Pinko. Getting so fired up's great and all, but at least hear me out here. Hey, Belith-chan, you're okay then? Damn right I'm okay. Unlike you guys, I live here. I'm free to go check through the archives at least. Look. A few books thunked onto the desk. They have keyholes for some reason, and the leather covers and look way old. Belith-chan flops on the bed, just leaving them tossed there. A lot of stuff happened while I was investigating, so it kept dragging on. Let's start with the comment. Does she have everything in her head, or does she just not want to open the books if she can help it because of the protective spells? Either way, she starts explaining verbally without grabbing any books. It turns out that these cometary eclipses like we're having now have happened a number of times in the past, too. The fall of the Mu continent, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, the Great Flood. Seems like whenever there's a mass destruction, a comet shows up. The Mu continent? That's where Cirrus was made. I heard that they incurred the wrath of the gods for creating the Black Demon Sword and were wiped out continent and all. The one to do it was a demon lord?
Oh, I hadn't known.
The voice came before I could ask. It seems like even the involved party didn't expect this, but I don't like how unconcerned he sounds about it.
To be fair, Sirius doesn't really have any particular attachment to his creators. They never got to know them, they never used them before being destroyed, and they kind of were asking for it with the whole challenging the gods thing. So, yeah, he's not terribly concerned. He's more concerned about going through legends, helping the Chosen do their chosen thing, and all that.
So, see? This comet's a sign. It's a sign that God's got fed up with humans. When God's patience runs out with them for going and doing whatever, he sends the comet as a sign. Go ahead and kill them all, it says. So he picks powerful demon lords and has them go deal with the humans. Looks like Noel and Levia got picked this time. No fair! Don't the demon lords that have to do it get any say in this? Beats me. Ain't our place to know, is it? God's an absolute being like that. Besides, the humans are to blame. Even God's not a big enough dummy to go and kill off zillions on a whim. You want to know why this happened? Try asking that scrawny chest of yours.
Have you not in fact hoped for this? The world might as well end tomorrow. Humankind can go ahead and perish. Have you never had such hopes?
No!
I see. And what of your friends? I have. I don't normally feel that way, but I've had the thought.
Yuka-chan!
I also have. As a magical girl of justice, I have seen enough human foulness and narrow-mindedness to sicken me. Better for all of it to be gone. Or so I thought more than once.
Super-chan, you too?
Dear me, it would seem that 2 out of 3 humans wish for the purge. Isn't that nice? God will grant your wish.
Yeah, on with the explanation. The most recent mass destruction happened 4,000 years ago. They say it's been 4,000 years since a huge comet like that showed up too, right? What happened that time was the Great Flood. You must have heard the story about how they got some Noah human to build a big ark and put animals and humans on board. It's famous enough anyway. It's the last Levia who caused the flood and caused the good word for Noah. The current Leviathan's mom.
Leviathan's mom?
She must have had a ton of magic power to have sunk the whole world. So Noah's family was spared and they spread over the world and prospered. But there's more to that story. One of Noah's sons was called Ham. This Ham saw him naked, so Noah got mad and put a curse on Ham's son, his own grandson. Be a slave to the other brothers. Then they say Ham's son's skin turned deep black.
That's kind of an interesting thing to bring up, because the Belith summarization of the Noah story is, other than the parts that involve the comet, Leviathan, and all that, accurate to the Bible up until that part about skin color, having anything to do with that curse. That bit was suggested only much, much later, and similarly, suggestions that the name Ham has something to do with the Hebrew word for burnt or black, that didn't come up until the 17th century, and all that's been discredited since. The most curious part about this whole thing is that Noah would choose to curse Canaan, Ham's 4th son, rather than Ham himself, or even his firstborn or whatever. Possibly Canaan was somehow evolved, or possibly the choice of 4th had some significance, and maybe Ham's offense was more serious than mentioned and was just discussed in euphemism, or maybe the whole thing is just an excuse for the Israelites versus Canaanites thing, but realistically, we're never going to know. In any case, trying to use this to somehow justify the slave trade or racism or anything like that, it just doesn't work. It makes no sense. It's a flimsy excuse at best. But
slave? Black skin? You mean
racial discrimination? I've heard before that reasons for discrimination are in the scriptures. So slavery is deemed just. Even 50 years ago, it was normal to think so.
That's horrible. Thinking it's okay to enslave people over something like that? Well, yeah, even God's mad about it. It's been even worse lately, what with trashing the planet and all. Heck, maybe Levia got picked now so she cleaned up her mom's mess. Cleaning up her mess? The things the humans she saved did? what their descendants did to the planet in just 4,000 years, calling it a mistake maybe can't be avoided.
Should we stop them? Noel and Levia? God's decision? I cannot condone destroying humanity, and yet, if we stopped the destruction now, would it truly be for the best? If sparing Noah was a mistake, maybe humanity ought to perish. Meeting you has taught me that believing in humans was not a mistake.
That's not true. Levia believed to the end. In us, in those her mother spared, she had faith. Levia and Noel-chan don't really want to destroy humanity. That's what I believe. Look, humanity is not a cold virus. We can apologize when we do bad things or hurt people. We can repent for what we did and try our hardest to make up for it. We need to say we're sorry to nature, to God, to those who believe in us. We need to put to rights what we destroyed. For that, we need to survive. Whatever God says, I'll stop them. I don't want to let anyone suffer.
Mistakes. Mistakes. If someone just believes, maybe they can stop being mistakes. If we can prove that, I also believe in us. Senpai, 3-on-1 won't be easy. Shall we make it 3-on-2?
Super-chan.
I'm not that confident, but I could join in and make it 3-on-3.
Yuka-chan. I'm already kind of a half-ass demon, so make it 3-on-3.5. Belith-chan.
Oh, how distressing. To think you would all flee outside. Though the sun may be covered with a yin energy so thin, I fear that I would turn to ash in the sunlight. Oh no, the horror. I've been attacked by 4 at once and beaten to a pulp, yeah? Of course my wounds close up so fast there's nothing left to prove it.
Raim-san, Nyal-san.
We all already knew our answers. And we've been waiting for you, Korona-chan, to wake up and say, let's go. And you have the nerve to go into oblivious sound sleep. You're really something, Senpai.
Sorry.
Leave apologies or thanks for later. Don't you have something you need to say?
Right. Tears escape, blurring my vision. I'm glad, but it's not time for tears. They've all been waiting for me. So I've got to answer their hopes. Let's go. Let's stop them, bring them back, and I'll go swimming or mountaineering again. Eat lots of great food, take morning walks to the fairy river, and make more great memories. This isn't a substitute arc. We came here to have fun together. We came to the demon realm to enjoy summer vacation. Subaru-chan, Yuka-chan, Belith-chan, the 4 of us all nodded. Raim-san opens the door and Nyal-san lets out a cheer. We join hands and set forth beyond the open door.
And I think that's a good time to stop. After a battle that turned out to be rather more tense than I was expecting it to be, and quite a mix of storytelling and world building besides, that's quite enough for one video. Next time we're off to confront Noel and try to stop the end of the world. It's going to be quite something. Come back next time for more, and I hope to see you then, and I hope the fighting goes a little bit better. It's going to need to.